West Bloomfield School District prides itself on its diversity and rich cultural influences throughout all of its schools. With over 54 different languages spoken throughout the district, West Bloomfield is constantly increasing its efforts to develop programs to support English language proficiency and to ensure student success in our schools.
Hello, I'm Superintendent Jerry Hill.
And I'm Alesia Flye, Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning.
Today we're joined by Denha, our English as a Second Language District Coordinator, and Nancy Goldstein, ESL and Newcomer Center teacher. Alesia, looking at the vast level of diversity that we have here in the West Bloomfield School District, we consider our English language learners as a rich and integral part of our district as a whole.
That's right, Dr. Hill. We value our diverse student population as much as these students value the knowledge and skills that they are gaining through our programs. And May, can you define for us what an ELL or English language learner is?
Thank you for having us on your show today to highlight our wonderful program that we have in the West Bloomfield School District. An English language learner is a student that is learning English in addition to his or her native language. They come from a home where another language is spoken, and that would be their native language. It could be Arabic, Chaldean, Spanish, Korean, or any other language, of course. In addition to that, these students require modified instruction, not only to learning English, but in addition to the curriculum that is being taught within the schools.
May, one of the programs that we're fortunate to have in the West Bloomfield School District in our English language learner program is our Newcomer Center, which is based at Sheiko Elementary School. Can you tell us about our Newcomer Center in the West Bloomfield School District?
The Newcomer Center is a center, kind of like a welcoming center for students that have just arrived to the United States. They have 0 to very minimal English in their repertoire, of course. And at the center that is housed at Sheiko, it is for students in grades 1 through 5. And we have Nancy Goldstein here, who is the teacher. And so they are there for half of the day, where they are immersed in language, literacy, and basic survival skills. And we're teaching them about school, just how to do American school, and trying to help them get acclimated into the U.S. as well. It's a wonderful program for these students because they are with the same peers, of course. The students there also are speak very minimal English. So they're taking risks, they're at their comfort zone, their affective filter is kind of low, so they're taking more risks there because they're getting so much support, and just being able to support them not only in English, but also in the academic course that's available.
So they're comfortable and learning together
absolutely.
In a similar environment.
And it's beautiful because it's like United Nations. It's just such a global world in there. And what the parents love it as well, because we also invite them to come in and they kind of want to help out, but believe it or not, they're also learning English alongside their children as well. So it's really, really nice. So they are there most of the morning, and then they transition back into the classroom in the afternoon, where they're immersed in the content, of course, but they're also getting support from either the ESL teacher or the ESL paraeducator.
Nancy, you supervise the Newcomer Center at Sheiko Elementary School. Tell us about the students that are there. Are they all from Sheiko? Do they come from other schools? And when they are there, how long do they stay? Do they go back and forth? How does that work out?
We have students from both Doherty and Sheiko in the Newcomer Center. The Doherty students go to Doherty, and they get on a special Newcomer bus, and they come to Sheiko, and I greet them with a smile. And they run to the door, and they're excited to come in. And they meet their friends from the upper elementary grades from Sheiko as well. And I love the diversity of the group in terms not only of culture and countries where they're from, but also of the age level. And I have a 5th grader, big boy, working with a little redhead 1st grader, and they've paired up together doing work together, and it's really nice to see the diversity in the classroom.
And Nancy, I've seen that energy and their excitement running into the Newcomer Center, and it's wonderful to see. It's certainly important. It's also important to have a wonderful start for these students at an early age and to make them feel safe and secure in a new environment, as you both have mentioned, you know, that they're learning this new language. And how do you ensure that the students feel comfortable enough to take risks as they're welcomed here and learning a new language?
I think building relationship with each student and having them be comfortable in their surrounding is key to that. I think that they learn and are comfortable with a lot of repetition. When they first came in the beginning of the year, we would do the calendar daily, and we would do the same routine over and over again, and basically I built on that and added new things as they were ready to learn new things. But a lot of repetition, a lot of nonverbal gestures, a lot of smiles and hugs, and you know, letting them know that they're welcome here and that we're here to help them.
In May, it's most important for students with minimal or no knowledge of English to learn not only oral language, but grammar, vocabulary, reading, and writing in order to be successful as they move in or are mainstreamed into other classes. So can you give us a sense of what the curriculum is like for these students?
Absolutely. At the newcomer level, for those beginning level students, our 1 and 2s, we just ordered National Geographic. It's Welcome to the USA, and it focuses on literacy, survival skills, and just everyday life things that happen. So, and then within that, though, we still maintain very high expectations for those students. Just because they have no English doesn't mean they don't understand or know a lot of the content. So we currently just, you know, continue to work with them. We provide them all the support that we can and maintain those high expectations. You know, we follow, of course, the core content classroom curriculum, and then we provide lots of scaffolding, support to the teacher, support to the students, so that they are on target and moving or making adequate progress, not only with the language, but also with the curriculum as well. So I think maintaining those high expectations and just making sure that we're providing the scaffolding and the support that's needed ensures that they are moving along that target in a sense to making progress.
I was also going to say that you know, there are 4 domains that we emphasize as an ESL department: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And as part of my job in the Newcomer Centers, I make sure that they have an opportunity to do each one of those every day. So whether they're listening to my directions and following up, or they're reading in a small reading group at their level, or they're writing about their weekend, or they're sharing their writing, I make it sure that they are touching each one of those domains in the time that I have them in my small class. I also feel fortunate in the Newcomer Center that I can make learning fun for them. So my birthday was in the fall, and I threw myself a birthday party with cupcakes and party hats and napkins and a fork and a spoon, and it was a real life, it's showing them a real life birthday in America, what it would be like. And then they started saying happy birthday in their own languages, and it was a really nice way of illustrating what a birthday was like in America. But any topic that we talk about, as long as I'm touching on all 4 of those domains, I feel like I'm doing my job. And when they came to film for the show, they filmed our butterflies, and we did a whole unit where we watched the caterpillars go from each stage, and the students not only would observe and write about what they observed and talk about what they observed, but they would also learn the scientific words for them. You know, they knew chrysalis and pupa and larva and caterpillar. They knew multiple words for the same thing or synonyms. So we do a lot of learning hands-on way that it's very clear for them.
And it's so in the Newcomer Center, the students are immersed in learning English. Does there come a point where students no longer need this support, or how can you tell if a student no longer needs this type of level of support?
Absolutely. We have a new kit that we ordered. It's kind of an assessment similar to the WIDA. We can assess their language proficiency to see where they are, because initially when those kids come in, we screen them using a English language proficiency screener to kind of give us an idea of where their language proficiency is in English. And then we basically gauge how they're doing by assessing them again using the model assessment. It shows us if they've actually made progress in the English language, and before even waiting for the annual WIDA scores that have to come out each year, which is an assessment that is required for them to take each year. But also we look at their literacy score because within the Newcomer Center we have guided reading going on, we've got guided writing going on. So they are, like you said, immersed in that language or in the curriculum as well. So they've got full access to that. But we're assessing them along the way as well, whether it's F&P or just our own assessments.
Well, and I know sometimes in education we use a lot of acronyms, and so you mentioned WIDA a few times. What is WIDA?
World Instructional Design Assessment is WIDA, I believe. Sorry, and it's a state assessment mandated by the federal government that is given to our ELL learners annually to gauge their progress in English. And so we're held accountable too. So our English language learners are not only learning English, but they have to learn the core curriculum as well. So they are assessed within those standards. So we have our own state standards, I guess you can say in a sense, for learning English, and that's the WIDA state standards in a sense, or national standards.
So Nancy, you described a lot what happens in the classroom, and do students get any opportunities outside of the Newcomer Center to learn the language?
Yeah, well, we are going on a field trip coming up to Cranbrook. And again, we're front-loading the students. Right now, we're studying bats in preparation because we're going to get to see bats up close. And we're also going to see a show on magnetism and electricity. So we're going to front-load them with some information before. Front-loading these ESL students is key. It's key for us before we go someplace, but it's really key for the classroom teachers as well in order for these students to succeed. So that's one. We offer an ESL summer camp that all of the newcomer students are invited to attend, where they'll have 2 weeks of instruction, and also they'll go on another field trip then as well.
Yep, providing those experiences for them as well.
Nancy, do you get any kind of financial support, grant money or any special aid from the state?
We do get Title III funding, where it's based on our population of ELs, and then we kind of budget for special programs. This year we've budgeted for 3 summer school programs. We're very excited that we're able to offer a 2-week summer school program for kids in grades 1 through 2. And then we've also got we have a summer school program for grades 3 through 5. And then this year, grades 6 through 8. So we're really excited at the middle school. So it's a 2-week program, again, like Nancy mentioned, where we have also we have a theme throughout the camp, of course, and then we have a field trip that's involved, whether it's the DIA or the Michigan Science Center. Last year it was the Michigan theme, and we learned all about Michigan, and then we took them to the Michigan Science Center, and it was a blast. We even invited parents to come along as well. So we do offer it free to our families, and the sign-up sheet is, I can't begin to tell you how long it is, or we do it by invitation actually, but they're more than happy to come and attend, so they're excited.
In addition to the state funding you mentioned, are there any community resources?
Right. In fact, our upcoming field trip is being funded by the Japanese Business
Society of Detroit. Every year they've been gracious and generous enough to allocate some some money for us, and we usually put it towards field trips and transportation. So that's how we are able to provide it, make the field trips free for our families actually. Great. So through the grant made possible by the Japanese Business Society of Detroit. So it's wonderful.
Great. Thank you. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will take a look at how our teachers are developing student language abilities through the use of different modes and technologies. We're back with our ESL teachers, Denha Finneran and Jennifer Frankowiak. Denha, you teach English as a second language at the elementary level. Tell us what a typical day might look like in one of your classrooms at Scotch, Sheiko, and Gretchko.
Well, for students whose English proficiency is at an entering or beginning level, 1, 2, or 3, they may be clustered in a classroom where the teacher has been trained with different strategies for instructional delivery, or appropriate scaffolding techniques to help them along. to check that they have the comprehension of the content being taught. And there would be a bilingual para in the classroom with them to help students, encourage the information. And in other classrooms with students with higher proficiencies, there'd be evidence of the teachers working together with the EL teachers in the planning of the curriculum, modifying any assessments that might be necessary.
So I understand, Dana, that research shows that children who are literate in their first language perform much better at school than children who are not very literate in their first language. What suggestions do you have for parents in your program in terms of language spoken in the home?
Continue speaking their first language as well. Having that L1, that first language background, it helps them develop a grammatical structure or universal structures that can be applied to learning the second, or in some cases, third, multiple languages. So they have that where it's reinforced by the home language and the family as well.
And I think that's a really important message for families, because I think families struggle sometimes about if I should continue speaking our native language, or if I should have my child speak all English at home. So that, I think, is just very important advice for families. And Jennifer, as we think about the middle school level, you are at the middle school level as well as Roosevelt. Can you share with us, how would you encourage students or parents who have ESL students to stay involved with their child's education? What kind of advice would you give them to help strengthen that connection?
One advice I'd give them is to volunteer in the classroom, so they can actually see what their child is learning in the classroom, what the teacher is teaching them, what activities and things they are doing, so that when they bring the homework home, the parents are able to help them. Also encourage them to go on field trips with their child, to interact and see what's going on and where the children are going. Also, don't hesitate to ask for help, either through email or schedule an appointment with myself as the teacher, to talk about if they need help or if they see their child struggling, so that I can provide them the supports that they can have at home to help their child.
And Dana, what are some of the challenges that ESL students have navigating our system?
Sometimes they come in with of course, a different educational experience or maybe expectations and the background knowledge that they have. So the things are new to them, or just the expectations, and that can cause them to lose their confidence. So it's great that we have the ESL staff and the paras and the teachers as well that can provide them the opportunity to shine in different ways. It doesn't have to be the verbal expression. They can still be a leader in their, communicating in other ways as well.
And we certainly have seen our ESL team, our teachers and paras, as you've worked with students and families, because not only are you helping them navigate how to speak English, but just how to do school in general as you come from a different country. So again, that I feel is valuable that we've observed for both students and parents. And Jennifer, on a similar note, what kinds of challenges do you see in working at the middle school level for students and teachers' experience when they're teaching students from a different culture in a classroom setting?
A lot of our students, they come from different background experiences. There may be different values at home. Sometimes school might not be as important in their home country or where they're at their home. Also, being able to communicate with each other and understanding each other when they're trying to talk, because some of them have accents, and you're trying to understand what they're trying to get out what they need to say, and then them understanding what you're saying.
And be patient.
And being patient with them. Yes. It's being patient, and then allowing them to teach you so that you can teach them as well. So letting them teach you their language, and then you teach them their language, and that kind of gives that bond and an experience with each other.
I think that's an important lesson for all of us. Learn as much as we can about each other.
Some ways that have been suggested to assist our ESL students include bringing their home cultures into the classroom and by integrating literature into the learning program. For instance, we visited Tony Warner's ESL class at West Bloomfield High School, and the class read The Hunger Games, a book chosen by the students. Afterwards, they were studying vocabulary they learned from the book and played Pictionary with these new words.
So Jennifer, at the middle school level, students certainly have a higher level of writing, and they write about writing arguments to support claims and relevant evidence. Talk to us about that experience and what this looks like in the classroom.
In the classroom, one of the standards in middle school is to be able to write a persuasive piece, writing piece. And in my classroom, I did a lot of front loading, teaching them what does persuasive mean, what is a claim, giving examples, having the students interact so they know. And then we came up with a topic that's relevant to them. They chose, should we be allowed to use cell phones in the classroom? And then we came up with 3 different reasons why, and then they had to give evidence. So they had to come up with 3 or 4 evidence to support each reason. And we provide them with a graphic organizer to organize their information. So prior to going to write their persuasive paragraphs, they have an organizer that we fill in together and work together.
Very relevant topic for middle schoolers.
Yes, yes, because they're always wanting to have their cell phones out and put your cell phones away and get out your Chromebook, and so that was a real relevant topic for them. And they had many reasons.
Dana, the majority of your students are clustered at Sheiko Elementary School. When we were in your classroom, they were working on landform presentations through Google Slides. Tell us about that project and how the students reacted to it, and was it challenging for them, and how?
Well, Mrs. Farrington's students were given landforms that they got to select and decide how they could present them with clues so that the students would have to guess what their landform was. So, you know, the bilingual paras and the teacher would help kind of scaffold that, where they would give them an opportunity to use sentence frames, the sentence starter to kind of give them the academic language, and then the students would fill in the piece that is necessary, the vocab to describe it. They were engaged, they liked using the technology. That's kind of a piece that helps them communicate, where they can use the pictures and the clues, and it provides the opportunity for them to have kind of like a reminder of what they're speaking about, because that final piece of being able to say it in front of the class is difficult. So they practice with a partner first, they practice in a small group before they have to present it and do the actual presentation.
And Dana, you've also mentioned a few times about clustering students.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what is that when we talk about clustering students in a classroom?
So it's based on their proficiency, their language proficiency level, and if we put the students together in a classroom, then that teacher who's been trained in the sheltered instructional program has a better way to include not only content objectives but language objectives, because they have the job of doing both of those pieces, teaching the content area plus the language that is required for it. So we're able to work with all those students at once, okay, with the team of the teacher or the bilingual para.
Can go in, and they're all there in one room, so
right,
she can push in
and
to that one room and assist the teacher.
And you're seeing that as a very effective strategy in our,
yes,
in our
correct,
classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And some of our ESL teachers certainly connect culture, celebrations and holidays of our students, and find that this fusion invites the students to share their knowledge about their backgrounds. In this way, students do not lose their identity, but gain knowledge from their culture and the world around them. So can you give us some examples about how we're bringing culture into the classrooms in the West Bloomfield School District, and how this is even promoting their academic success?
I think teachers select literature that is, national, multicultural literature, so it would reflect different beliefs or different points of view. And I think it's important for students of all backgrounds to understand that those exist. It also gives a piece where maybe an ELL student can connect and be proud that this is their culture or their language that is being studied.
Do presentations. I know at the middle school level we did posters, because I have students who are from different backgrounds, so they did posters about their country and presented it to the class so that they can see, you know, everybody's different cultures.
Yeah, and so it sounds like it
different
gives
things.
every student an
Yep,
opportunity
like
to
the
shine.
food
right?
and you know how they sell things they celebrate and things that are important in their culture.
And the heritage nights at the elementary schools where they share the food or the clothing or the music or the games that the kids play around the world.
Excellent.
What other kind of parent outreach programs do you offer?
Well, we work with the parents, especially at the
The
newcomer
parents.
to, you know, have them involved. We bridge the gap with the community. So we'll help have schedule field trips to the library to let them know what the community is like and what resources are here. We have study skills, tips that might, you know, benefit the parents, the families being involved in. And really, I see most often the biggest thing is having people who speak their language, where they can communicate with the school, especially in a, you know, in a situation that may be difficult, and they want to be able to have their
Having the paras, the bilingual paras.
and
At
the
Roosevelt,
teachers, the
that
staff,
helped.
right.
You know, when you're trying to communicate, because we do have the summer camp coming up. So just communicating to the parents, it was nice to have, you know, somebody that could communicate with them
In their language.
in their language,
Right.
so that they understood exactly.
And they don't feel isolated.
And Jennifer, similar at the middle school level, do you see parents encouraging their students to get involved in activities, and do you find your students are becoming socially acclimated, you know, particularly as they're interacting with students from all cultures?
I do. I mean, it's natural that you want to tend to gravitate towards people of your own culture, but as a teacher, I like to foster interaction based on how I group the students in the classroom, pairing them up to do different activities that involves you know, the 4 domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Activities that they do in the classroom to interact with each other and communicate and have that conversation piece with each other.
And to find a student who might be a buddy that maybe represents a different culture or language, but that you know they have something in common with.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about, you know, if we eat the same food or speak the same language.
You
But
know, having the same interests.
Right,
You know,
having
maybe
some-
find somebody that have the same interests.
sometimes you have to work your magic with the other teachers and
Yep.
find that student for them, and you know,
Yeah.
and then let that friendship grow.
Yeah, and again, just another good point. There are just so many ways that kids can make connections with each other. As we think about our Newcomer Center, you know, certainly the main goal of our Newcomer Center in our ESL program is to successfully, you know, mainstream English language learners into all classroom experiences, and we want to make sure we're creating a safe and nurturing environment so that they're learning as much English as possible or have that experience. And again, this is just another example of how the West Bloomfield School District provides multiple opportunities for all students to become better learners using English language. And we thank you for what you do with students every day, because we've seen your teams in action and have been exceptional.
Well, thank you.
And we thank you for joining us today, where we have taken a closer look at the English as a Second Language program and our Newcomer Center.